Hello and welcome to Northern Tempest. This episode was recorded in November 2022. In fact, 1 week after the UK Grand Melee, and we thought it was time to come back and do more episodes because I'm here with the UK Grand Melee champion.
Afternoon, Joe.
Our very own Chris Ainsworth got the big win. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So we thought we'd better talk about it. So I could only finish second place. No, I'm immensely pleased as well to come in second place. So we went down together in the car down to the UK Grand Melee in Farnborough at the Reading War Game show, and we obviously took first and second place back with us. So.
Back up north.
Back to the Midlands.
To the Midlands.
Mercia, this centre of Saga, you see. We've got in fact, Mercians took the top 5 spots.
That's a fair showing, really, because the tournament was in the south.
Yes, yeah. So we thought we'd better talk about our warbands and about our games. Lots to go on about there, and perhaps talk a bit about our opponents as well. We saw some interesting warbands there, and had really good fun. But
the venue was quite nice as well. It was an improvement on last year, I think. The way it was all in 1 or 2 rooms rather than being up and down on 3 different floors.
Yes, so it was in Farnborough Exhibition Centre, the Farnborough Airfield. So big hall, lots of stalls there, and of course lots of different games being played. And Saga's just one of those, but for us, Saga obviously it's the big event of the year, the UK Grand Melee. So this time we were actually getting some practice games in. I was playing the Picts, and I'd stuck with them, thinking they are a great warband against lots of different factions. And you picked the Welsh, but it wasn't an easy road to the Welsh, was it?
No, I picked the Welsh, and I played 4 practice games, of which I lost 3 and won 1 with luck.
I kept saying to you though that you can never write off the Welsh, and they're always a tough opponent to play against. They can always do some good stuff against every other warband. So you've got that in your favour. But some of the practice games didn't go well, and
I was lacking confidence.
You were doubting it, but that's a good way to go into the tournament, isn't it? It's you think
full of doubt.
Yeah, doubting your own warband. Anyway, so it's nice to turn that around. So we'll perhaps talk through some of our warband compositions with this. So what was this winning Welsh list that you took?
Okay, so I'm pretty simple with my Welsh list. I just wanted lots of bodies because Welsh bodies are very, very soft. So the more you have, the harder it is to kill.
Yeah.
So I went with 1 point of Levy, 4 points of Warriors, and a point of Vagrant Warriors. Now, Vagrant Warriors, the idea is behind them is something to stiffen my line a bit. It's something to take the fatigue off my other troops in some of the scenarios. I can taunt units into the Vagrant Warriors to expose them, especially out of cover, etc. And you can close ranks, especially if I've got my Vagrant Warriors on, because then I can use the extra bonus dice they get to get loads of defense dice to make them invulnerable.
Yes, and that step with the Vagrant Warriors and the taunt was genius, really, and that was it was horrible to play against that, because you sort of normally that taunt ability you have to charge into the Welsh units, but the Welsh units are always weaker in combat, and so they don't like being charged.
No, it doesn't make much sense to be on the board, to be fair, because you taunt them and then they come in and kill more of you than you do of them.
In our practice games, you were using that quite well, the taunt, to taunt me out of my lovely hard cover that my Picts enjoy so much, and that was always a risky move when I was going to Welsh troops. But into the Vagrant Warriors, you battered me.
Yeah, exactly. It works really well. You did well all tournament, to be fair.
Yeah. So they paid off very, very well. So I had Picts and a bit of everything for the Picts. There was 1 point of Hearthguard, who can be on foot and can be mounted. So sometimes they're mounted to throw the javelins, sometimes on foot for a bit of a harder target. There are 3 points of Warriors on foot, 1 point of Levy crossbows, essentially in any Picts list. And I also had 1 point of Roman deserters, mercenaries, who are a great solid mercenary unit, really look after themselves there.
Yeah, that's the best thing, isn't it? Because they look after themselves and you don't require any babysitting or...
Yeah.
They can get a free shot, stand there and can't die.
Yeah, plus 1 to their defense rolls, so they're really hard to kill, and also because they get the free shot, they've got one free activation, and I really lack multiple activation abilities on the Picts board. So I wanted a mercenary unit that could do an activation for free itself. So didn't really need the guides this time. I thought to get the extra terrain. I thought we're going to have enough terrain. I want somebody who can
there was a lot
do
of
something
terrain.
himself. Yeah. Right. So those are our lists, and we went into this tournament. Went down on the Friday. Good sort of drinks and banter in the pub the night before, and chatting with some of the other players. And then we're in on the Monday morning, and everyone's excited about the draw. Who you gonna pick? who we going up against? And I found out my first opponent. So it was a Desecration in the first battle, and I was up against John Fry, who's the rules master. And I was saying, I can. The list that's going to be easy to beat would be Vikings. I think I'm not too worried about Vikings. I can dodge them. I can shoot them out. I can defend in combat. And then John Fry's brought Vikings, and I thought that. Then I began to get worried. Thought, well, he can probably use Vikings better than anyone else. He's the rules master, so I did get a bit worried. But the dice were perhaps not really on his side in that game. So it was Desecration, and he had the first. Did I have the first turn, or he had a first turn? No, I had a first turn. So I just moved up, couldn't really do much. And then his first turn, he had a few different Vikings units, no mercenaries. He was trying a Vikings list with no mercenaries, which is a risky thing to move. And he's such a good sport. He was playing for a laugh. He was trying to see what the Vikings can do in a tournament, because they're not known for being that successful in a tournament play.
I think it can be an uphill battle with Vikings sometimes due to the lack of power of the board.
Yeah, it can be. And the reliance on winning those melees, which you can't always win.
No.
So he rolls his dice, and his roll on the first turn was like 4 rares and 3 uncommons, and he so he did Ragnarok on the first turn, and just multiple activation of his Hearthguard into me, and loads of Ragnarok charges. Everyone's armor low, battering me with his Hearthguard units. He went into my Roman Deserters, because I had some defensive abilities on. So he went into the Roman Deserters and again and again with his Hearthguard. I wiped out a unit of Hearthguard with his charging me, but he kept coming with the other unit. He wiped out my Roman Deserters. Now they are hard to kill. Roman Deserters closing ranks, saving a 3+ in melee, but he wiped them out, and that is the only time in all 6 games they were wiped out.
You didn't lose them in any practice games either.
No, I didn't. I've never lost them apart from that game to Ragnarok multiple charges, and then his Warlord comes in afterwards, multiple charges. See, the problem was he hadn't rolled any common dice, so he couldn't activate his warriors.
So you just had to throw his Hearthguard
and Warlord came in. It was brilliant. It was such good fun. But yeah, he wasn't really rolling the dice, and he had a tough battle with his Warband as well. And of course, then my turn comes around. I'm doing loads of shoots. I charge the objectives. I can destroy some of those and take him out from a distance. So he couldn't really come back. And even on his later turns, he was still hardly rolling any common dice. So he still couldn't activate his warriors the second turn to kind of follow up and attack me. So yeah, I got off lightly there, but he is a really good sport and good fun to play against John Fry. Yeah, so took the win on that first game. What about you? First game, Desecration.
First game I played against the Gauls, Martin had the Gauls. I was quite nervous of this because Gauls hit so hard and Welsh don't like being hit. He had 2 chariots, a Warlord on a chariot, 4 units of big warriors, so 10, 10 and 12. So I was quite concerned. I think he had a unit of levy as well. Yeah, a unit of levy as well. So first turn, I think he came piling forward. I was quite nervous. I didn't really know what to do, so I sort of started chipping away at him with my javelins. Couldn't roll any dragons, of course, but I was chipping away with my javelins. Now, he was quite unlucky here, because it was one of them games where the 4-ups did not come, and he was just losing models and models and models, and then big units being chipped away. But every time he got into combat, he was wiping out a unit. But I played quite small with my army, because I had 7, 7 and 8, a 10 of them mounted, and then I played Obviously my levy and my mercenaries. The mercenaries did really well. I think they were in the solid cover. It did keep taking the cover off them, but I was sitting on like 2 fatigue most of the time, so I was getting 4 defense dice trying to keep them alive.
Of course, the Gauls have an ability to take away your hard cover. Yeah,
but he did wipe them out. But it said the chip damage was doing. It came out to about turn 4. He'd lost all of his warriors, and he only had his chariots. Now the weird thing about this battle is when we placed in terrain, it just didn't stop. The whole battlefield was covered in terrain 4 inches apart.
I'd love to play on a table like that with my Picts.
Yeah, to be honest, it's pretty good with the Welsh, but on the other hand, I couldn't get away because I couldn't move further enough on their turn because I only had the short, and he used the extra VS to charge on his goals to keep catching me.
Yeah, so you can catch you down, but that's going to be a struggle for his chariots, though.
Yes, it was. So by the time I got to about turn 4, I'd wiped out all his warriors, and I hid all my warriors, and my warriors were in the terrain, and he just had his chariots running in between the gaps down the terrain. On my last, because it was 5 turns, and then you play an extra turn on a 1, 2, 3, a 4, 5, 6, sorry. And we came down to my last turn, because I went second. None of us had killed an objective. I managed to block mine with the rest of my army and just lay in front of it, and he kept charging his chariots into it. He couldn't get through because he ended up fatiguing himself. And then I managed to squeeze 2 warriors round with my mounted warriors. I put 2 rares on the horsemen, and then managed to get 4 attack dice and managed to knock out the objective, so I could actually have a 16 cap rather than 10 cap on Desecration. So I only just won it by the skin of my teeth, to be fair. And I think if he passed more saves, he would have beat me.
Yeah.
So, lucky.
Good Warband, the Gauls. We talked about them before we go in as knowing they're a tough one to beat. So,
they are a very difficult Warband to beat, the Gauls.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So game number 2 was the ambush, and I really enjoy ambush. It's a different sort of challenge. You've got the baggage walking across the screen, and it's across the board, and you've got kind of this challenge of whether to attack it, whether to attack your opponent, and when to go for it. Do you wait for your opponent to grab the loot first and you take it off them, or and what the baggage does? Sometimes it doesn't move. Sometimes it raises really quickly.
Very true.
Quite interesting.
The big side of this scenario is there's only 5 turns, and 1 turn you come on the board. So
yes, it's short game.
You have to go for the baggage. There's no choice. I don't think you can, unless you're a very quick army with all cavalry. You can't go for your opponent. You've got to try to get the baggage, I think.
Yeah. So the opponents for this. So I'd won the first game. So and I killed the warlord. So I thought I was doing well after the first game. Thought going into the second game, wonder who I've got. It's Andy Lyons. And I played him first time in the Grand Melee last year, and I thought, surely I'm going to dodge him this time. Second game, Andy Lyons. And so what's he bringing? Is he playing a fun list? Is he playing a to win list? And he had his all mounted Welsh. That was the list he took to the World Cup and beat everyone. And so I was scared with his mounted Welsh list, and I thought I've got to get the terrain in the right place. Obviously, limited in ambush, the terrain can only go near the edges; it can't go in the middle. But Andy also knew that I want terrain on my side, so he stuck me with an open hill on my side, preventing me doing some of my abilities. So I stuck him with the big crop field on his side to limit his mounted, and I managed to get the steep hill on his side as well. So I put 2 pieces on his side, and I think I had a heavy cover on my side as well because he tried to move some out of the way. So actually that was the key point of the game, really. That I managed to get 2 large areas of uneven ground on his side. So he was really kind of limited to where he could put his mounted Welsh, and he had a lot of units there. Let's see, he had all warriors in this list, all warriors. So there were 6 units of warriors. I think there were like 7s of mounted warriors, and there was like a 10 of warriors on foot and a small unit of warriors on foot. So loads of them. But the mounted, they were kind of squashed up in the corner at the back because he obviously didn't want me to pop out and shoot at them with my crossbows. So they were limited at the back of the board. So I was in the hard cover, and I managed to wait till the ambush, the baggage moved in front of me, so I could shoot that and did get some charges, got some of the loot. He came after me across the table. His cavalry, of course, nipping in and nipping back, but because I had my 2 shooting units, in fact, in that one I had my 11 levy crossbows, and I swapped out half a point of warriors to bring 7 levy with slings in that. So I had 2 shooting units, and he found it quite hard to stay out of the range of both of them, and he didn't move his mounted units up. My warlord grabbed one of the loots, and that meant the warlord was a bit weak. So Andy saw he smelt blood in the warlord and did charges in. But obviously, I was doing some closing ranks and using the feint ability to get my +1 bonus to my defense dice. I managed to save every time, and he got charge after charge and shot after shot from the warlord, and I managed to get the saves in. So a bit lucky on there, and managed to get away and shoot out the batter the units that were coming at the warlord. So he got away with the loot, and I'd managed to kill some of his troops. He was obviously reluctant to bring his mounted warlord out. And when I did get a chance to shoot his mounted warlord, of course he's using the Welsh reactions to block it, and so I didn't really get a proper chance on his warlord. I managed to whittle away his units and got away with the treasure and most survival points. So won that game as well.
Did you go first or second?
First, that one.
First. I think it's an advantage to go first, because when you go second in this one, if the baggage close to you moves, your deployment zone is further away, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. So it's a tricky one. That I think possibly better going first in the ambush scenario. Possibly. You also get that chance to move on and get in position, and your opponent moves on. You know your opponent is not going to attack you first turn. All they can do is move onto the table. And then you could choose to attack them when they've got nothing on the board. They haven't got any dice set up. So you could do that, but I mean it's a risky thing to do. But you might see the opportunity to do it if you're the first player.
Yeah. So my game of the ambush, I played against Daniil. Daniil was playing Byzantines, which are a very hard army to break down. It's a very strong board, the Byzantines. I've played Daniil a couple of times in the past. I think I've managed to I've always had my army smash, but then just about squeezed it on objectives. Mm-hmm. This time it wasn't so lucky. We played ambush, but the baggage near to me moved and pushed my deployment zone back twice.
Yeah.
And the 2 baggages near him didn't move.
Right. Okay. So you had to go a bit further to get the baggage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was fighting an uphill battle straight away because I went second. He managed to nick one of the baggages with his levy, and then got the other one with his warlord, and then basically he kept attacking it with his Turcopoles, because the Turcopoles get a free movement away, don't they? Have to shoot as well.
Free shot, yeah, and then the movement away, yeah.
So and they get 2 bonus defense dice, so he wasn't losing any casualties while attacking the baggage.
Yeah.
So he was attacking it with that to weaken it, and then he was picking it up with his levy and his warlord. I had a nightmare with rares in this one as well. I couldn't get any dragons. The only time I got dragons, I got my unit of 10 warriors. I charged the baggage with a wild charge and didn't kill it.
Oh, unlucky.
So I was having a bad time with that. So I managed to get one of the baggages. I managed to stay out of the way of his shooting with my reactions, but I wasn't managing to do anything, and he managed to pull 2 baggages back to his lines. The only chance I really had was during turn 3, I think it was. He had his warlord who was fatigued out, but he was behind his other unit of levy, but he had a fully stacked board. So I went to taunt him out, but I made a massive mistake. I didn't re-taunt properly, and I taunted the wrong unit, and then basically just wasted it. And it was it was a disaster from there. To be fair, Daniil played it very, very tightly. There was only that one opportunity that I actually had where I could actually took the objective. So from this point, to be honest, I thought my tournament was done, because 1 loss and killing no walls in the first 2 rounds. Last year I don't think that would have been enough points to actually win the tournament. However, this year was different.
This year was different. Tied to results. Yeah, and on that victory that Daniil had against you, he was playing me in the next game.
How nice of us to give him to
you. I was facing that's very scary levy list of Byzantines. He had a lot of levy shooters in there. It is quite scary to face. The Byzantine castle, I used to call it.
Yeah.
So the next game was change of plans, and in that one, because Daniil also plays Picts, he was clever enough to know not to put cover on his side that I could use to get over there. So he put an open hill, and kind of the cover was on my side. So change of plans, of course, it's about the victory points for the first 3 turns, and then it's going to be about survival points, and then at the end of the game it's conquest points for being on the other person's side of the table. And I could see I was going to really struggle to get any massacre points against him because he was so well defensive. The Byzantines are really hard to break down, really hard to kill, and even if you do kill them, you're only killing levy.
Did you break your army into tiny units to score more survival points?
Well, a little bit of that, but I clocked that also having so many levy is a hindrance in conquest points.
Yes.
And Daniil obviously knew this as well, and so he needed to try and win back the points before we got to that final turn where I was going to score more on the conquest points. I also know my army can move faster than his to get onto his side of the board, and he might not be able to do that. So again, I was going first. Managed to get a nice bit of hard cover in the middle and a nice big wood, crop field, a big crop field in the middle of the table. And
was that hard cover as well?
That became hard cover. In Masters of the Field, turned that into hard cover just about every turn. That big crop field. So and I got pretty much my whole army into this hard cover. There was a ruins, I think it was, and then the crop field turned into hard cover using the Masters of the Field. So I was in there. We were kind of taking sort of a few little shots at each other, but he had a very tough list to break down. So he had, let's see, 2 units of 12 levy on foot, spear and shields, a unit of 9 levy crossbow, another unit of 9 levy with normal bows, Turcopoles, and 6 Hearthguard. Your 6 Hearthguard and Turcopoles are right at the back with the Warlord. There's this wall of levy who get loads of extra defence dice because of all the Byzantine abilities. So we're taking a few shots at each other, but he's not doing any damage to me because I'm in the hard cover, and I'm not doing any damage to him because he's got too many defence dice. So it was crazy. We got to the end of turn 3. There was no massacre points scored. No one had died. It was absolutely crazy. I don't think we've done anything. So we carried on a bit more than that, and then it was going to be survival points, the next thing to play for. So we're doing a bit more chip damage to each other than little bits off here and there. And I think I was getting lucky and killed a few of his levy, but not very many. Not very many. Just a few to sort of weaken one of those levy units down. And his Turcopoles, of course, are nipping out, shooting, nipping back, and then he's got his levy with the bows and the crossbows shooting away. I put extra dice in a combat bonus for those defence dice, which, although I don't like putting dice in the combat bonus, when you're in hard cover, each dice you put in there is an extra saved model. Really, it is really good as a shooting defence. It's really hard to get through that if someone's in hard cover and they've got dice in the combat bonus. So lots of defensive stuff really, and then it comes to the near the end of the game, and let's see the final turn, and I've just got to move everything. So I'm using my scout's ability to shift everything up onto his side, moving my Hearthguard up round onto his side, and trying to block his path to get on my side using my Roman deserters. So yeah, shifted up a little bit, and at this point I was slightly ahead on points, on the survival points. Not enough to win the game, but slightly ahead just because the build of my army got me a few more points, and plus I chipped away at his levy a little bit. But it was going to come down to the conquest points at the end. So I got more stuff onto his side. He was going to find it hard to win back the points. I did something pretty stupid with my Hearthguard at the end. I thought I'd charge my Hearthguard into his Hearthguard on its side and stop him getting his Hearthguard to mine, but I sort of lost some of them and didn't do any damage. And then on his turn, he charged all my Hearthguard on his side of the table and killed them all with his levy. So that was a bit embarrassing, really. And then his Hearthguard unit went onto my side and scored him some points. But that was pretty stupid of me. But in the end, I'd seen the bigger picture of the the fact that his levy units were not going to be able to score as many, plus his mercenary unit scoring half points. So I managed to get more conquest points than him, and I managed to get the win on that one. So yeah, felt lucky. That was the scenario I was playing him on, because many other scenarios I think I would not have won.
The Bystander list he plays is very, very strong, and in a straight up fight, it's pretty difficult to beat, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Anyway, so that was change of plans. So, who were you playing on change of plans?
I played against Austin. Austin was playing Goths, which actually is not a great matchup for Welsh, because Goths can take fatigue and laugh it off and then smash you in combat by moving multiple activations. However, I don't think he got much experience playing against Welsh, because I just gently sort of pulled him apart. I evaded him when he tried to get me. He was placing a lot of his dice onto abilities and not enough on activation, so he couldn't actually catch me. So every time he went for me, I just moved away, and then I just moved on my men around his flanks. I rolled a lot of dragons in this game as well to make up from the first 2 games where I think I rolled 2. And so I was moving all my units. It was constantly javelins all the time, and I was moving my men where I wanted them, and I felt like I just outmaneuvered him, and while not taking any damage back, or constantly chipping him away.
There's that temptation with the Goths, because their combat abilities, their melee ability combos are so good.
Yeah.
With and quite easy to get. You want to put all your dice on doing a mega combat combo for in melee and just wiping someone out. But the problem with that is if all your dice are on the abilities, you need the dice to activate to actually get to your opponent, and Welsh can get away.
Yeah,
can dodge you.
You don't need that many attacking abilities to beat the Welsh in combat. The Welsh haven't really got very good defensive abilities. Their abilities are moving. If you get them into combat, you will hurt them even with straight up attacks.
Yeah. Was this where you put your Vagrant Warriors in a swamp in this game?
Yes, I think I did. My Vagrant Warriors were in a swamp, and I was taunting them in. Was it this game? I'm not sure it was this game.
I thought it was brilliant.
There was one game where my Vagrant Warriors were in a swamp, and I was taunting people into the swamp to attack my Vagrant Warriors who already had fatigue in the swamp.
So they come in with fatigue against the Vagrant Warriors who love having fatigue, and it's horrible.
That was against the Gaul player, I think that was, where I was taunting people into the swamp. Yeah. Oh. He put the swamp there as well. It was very nice of him to give me that swamp.
Ace. Right, okay, so well done. So you got the win on that one.
Yep, and I killed my opponent's warlord, which put me on 12 points at the end of the first day.
Yeah.
12 out of 18.
Yeah. So that was the end of the first day. I'd got 3 wins, including one warlord kill. So yeah, I was feeling quite good about that so far, but I think I was top of the points after the first day. But there was obviously a lot more to play for the next day. And we knew that we were going to play some really good players the next day, the higher up you go. Okay, so going into day 2, the Sunday, we had 3 more games. The first one was Battle Round the Campfire, the scenario from Age of Invasions. Very different sort of setup, because the units is going to be scattered all around. And we played a couple of practice games of this, and just realised that it's really kind of slanted in favour of player 1, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, the reason it's slanted towards player 1 is you player 1, you get to attack your opponent with your 3 dice, and then your opponent's got no dice on the board. And then when it comes to the second player's turn, if he attacks you with his 3 dice, you have an 6 or 7 dice attack at him with no dice on it. Or all he does is puts his 3 dice on his board to defend himself, and you attack him again.
Yeah. So really, the first player can be knocking out one of the opponent's units, taking a Saga dice off them turn 1, and then doing it turn 2 as well.
Yes.
Really, it's a tough one to play. Terrain placement is key as well, because there's some interesting things to do that you need to work out with terrain placement, because first player is going to get the first dibs on any hard cover near the centre of the board. Yeah,
so the first player is getting the advantage of the ward placement, your unit placement, your terrain placement, and your attacks.
Yeah. And I was saying it's a massive advantage of player 1. However, in one of our practice games, you did beat me when I was player 1.
I did. I was player 2. Because he set up for an attack on my cavalry, and then I hid them behind Vagrant Warriors.
Yeah. and tried to take out the cavalry early, and then you kept taunting my levy out of the hard cover.
Insane.
And you rolled a ridiculous number of dragons in that game.
I did roll quite a few dragons in that game.
Anyway, so we knew it was possible for player 2 to win, but it was going to be tough.
Yes.
So my opponent for that game, it was Armin, who's come all the way from Austria to play, and he had this Carthage army, which I'd never played against using my Picts. I'd played against them, obviously with other warbands, and I'd done well with the Iberians, but I just wondered how Picts were going to fare against them. He had 2 elephants in his list, levy bows, unit of warriors mounted with javelins, and then 2 mercenary units, the Thoropoli and the Samnites, which is a really good Carthage list, because with that list, 1 dice on the Carthage ability to move your elephants and mounted units.
Activate all
and then
units.
you can activate every unit can be activated with 1 dice.
Yeah,
because those Thoropoli can move just because an elephant moves nearby, and the Samnites can get a free move. So everyone's moving on a single dice. So pretty strong. So I thought I know those Samnites are tough, so I really want to take them out early. Luckily, I was first player, so I was going into this feeling pretty good. He had a mounted warlord, of course, who's got to be in the middle, and I've got levy with crossbows. So I'm thinking this is going to be pretty good. But of course, you get to place the fatigue on different units.
Yes.
And Armin, of course, put 2 fatigues on my levy crossbows, stop them firing, because he's going to cancel the activation if they try and fire at his warlord. Luckily, I'd obviously anticipate that a little bit, and I'd brought my other sort of half levy unit as well. So I had 11 levy with crossbows, and I had 7 levy with slings. And with that stalking ability on the Picts board, you get 3 more dice. So you 7 levy with slings are actually putting out 7 shooting dice when you use that ability, which is pretty nasty, really, for 7 levy.
Yeah.
Yes, and they were in the hardcover. I'd managed to get my levy in the hardcover. My Rome deserters out in the middle, facing his warlord, and some of my warrior units were out, sort of ready to do some charges on him. And really, he saw the danger, and he had to put his warlord near the middle. But everyone else was kept quite away from the campfire. So turn 1, I thought, right, I can put loads of shots into his warlord. I can probably kill his warlord in the first turn, I'm thinking, and I can get a good charge on one of his units. And I put a fatigue on the Samnites because I know they can be dangerous. They've got a free activation, so if I can take their Saga dice out and score extra points for killing that mercenary unit, turn 1, I thought that's going to be a good thing to do. So I put the charge into his Samnites with a move and then a swift as the wind charge, so I could hit them with a warrior unit with no fatigue. They had a fatigue on them, so I could take their armour down, hitting them on 2s.
You surely should have killed them.
Thought I should have really battered them there with a 10-man warrior unit. 10 warriors going in, hitting him on 2s. Got quite a few hits, but he got loads of saves. He got loads of saves on it, unfortunately. So I think I only killed 3. So he still had 5 Samnites left. So that was
Did that with 10 warriors?
I've got 10 warriors hitting on 2s, and so that really threw me off a bit. So he didn't even lose the Saga dice on them. There was still like a viable unit, and then the shots on his warlord. Let's see, I put in my Rome deserters fired at his warlord, and my levy unit fired at his warlord twice. I think.
Mounted.
His warlord was mounted. Yeah,
Jesus.
I think that's what I did. But that's putting 12 shots into his warlord, and I did put 2 fatigues on him, but he saved loads of them, so loads of shots. So yeah, his warlord was still alive with 2 fatigues, and I hadn't geared up to it for a charge on the warlord because I charged the Samnites. So yeah, that was it was unfortunately I'd fluffed my big chance there. I'd really I perhaps should have charged the levy instead. I perhaps should have saved my charges so I could have gone for his warlord. But I thought I'd done enough to batter those 2 units. Maybe should have put it all into attacking.
I suppose his
unit,
Warband is ideal for that, because it says even though he's only got 3 dice, that's second turn, he can activate them all with just that one, can't he?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so his turn comes around. Obviously, he's using his 3 dice to rest his Warlord to move his Sam Knights, get his free move away. He can get multiple activations ability using to move his elephants away, and his mounted warriors can move to safety. So everyone's backing off from me, even his Warlord, and he's still got a dice on the one to move in my turn as well. So my turn comes around now. I've got the full rack of dice going to go for him, but the Sam Knights have backed off a bit far. So instead, I put a charge onto his levy unit and killed loads of them, and tried to get some attacks on his Warlord, but I think Warlord backed off a bit too far. I wasn't doing anything to him, and he had his mounted warriors. I tried to get some shots in them, but they were just a bit too far. I wasn't doing anything. So he really backed off away from my my attack, which was based around the centre, and he backed everyone off out the way.
South of the wall.
So away from the Picts, which was wise, and he'd seen that danger coming and got everyone away, and the rest of the game went like that. Really, me going for the attacks and him backing away, and then I really made a bad mistake where I moved my levy out to shoot at his mounted warriors and got some shots off. Oh no, I moved out to kill the 3 remaining levy that were left, and I had my 11 levy crossbows plus extra dice from stalking. I thought I'm going to easily wipe out these 3 levy with shooting, and I think I only killed 1. and he didn't use my fatigue. He left it on, so he cancelled my activation to move back in. So my levy was left hanging out of the hard cover. So he got a charge with his warriors, and he killed lots of the levy. So he scored lots of points back by doing that. He backed away lots of his units, and I'll try and chase him for the rest of the game. But he managed to get away, and I was 3 points ahead of him on slaughtering points by the end of the game. And you need 4 points ahead to win in this one. So
one more warrior.
It was classed as a draw. So yeah, he judged that well, and he'd got away. I caught up with them Sam Knights in the end and managed to kill them enough for them to get the extra point. But sadly, it was too late to get the rest of the Warband. Yeah, a bit of a frustrating game really, but it's a funny scenario really that it's resulted in that, and that was his best course of action, to be honest, to back away like that. But yeah, made it an odd sort of game. Anyway, that was my battle around the campfire. What about yours?
Okay, so the night before we were sort of in the pub joking how horrible it would be to face Scots and battle around the campfire. And then in the morning, we'd worked out, me and Mark were on the same point. It's like, I don't want to play Mark. I don't want to play Scots around the battle around the campfire with Welsh. Doesn't sound very nice. So in the morning, I went to Andy and he went, because he was running the results, and he was like, am I against Mark? He's like, you're either against Mark or me. And he went, I'm against Mark. And I went, yeah. So I thought, right, I really need to go first.
So Mark won the UK Grand Melee last year with the Scots, and we teased him a bit for bringing the Scots again.
Yeah,
with pretty much the same list. But they are a tough army, and he is a brilliant opponent. So it's going to be a really tough. But obviously that means he's there to win. And he's not going to give you an easy ride.
My track record against Mark over 8 years has been about 2 wins, about 20 losses.
Mine too. Yeah.
So Mark is a fantastic player. Now, before I got into this game, in my brain was don't make a mistake, don't make a mistake, don't make a mistake. I thought, I've got a bit of a chance. If I went second, I would have definitely lost. But I thought, I've got first. You know what? I've got a bit of a chance. So the way we deployed is I managed to get my levy in hard cover behind his Warlord. So he had to put men to protect his Warlord. And then I managed to take all the right flank with my warriors. And then I put my Vagrant Warriors in front of my Warlord and put both my fatigues on him. He put his Sons of Death behind me, along with a unit of 10 warriors, and then I had a couple of units there so I could have a shot at him. Now, I was very concerned about the Sons of Death, and we talked about this before we went. If we're against Sons of Death, would you place both the fatigues on Sons of Death? We all said yes, we would. I didn't do that. I put the 2 fatigues on the 10 warriors next to them.
Yeah.
I left the Vagrant Warriors in front. Now, I thought, right, what I'll do, whatever I roll, I'll just have as many shots as the Sons of Death as I can before they can do anything. So, roll my dice. I rolled 3 uncommons. I thought, oh, I can't activate warriors. It was a catastrophe. It's like, oh, the Sons of Death are going to murder me. I didn't put fatigues on. Why to put fatigues on? So then I thought, right, what am I going to do? So I got me two rares. My Warlord, we obeyed another unit. Luckily, my Vagrant Warriors were just outside of them. So then I moved just past short away. I had shots at the Sons of Death. I was a bit lucky with this. I managed to kill 4 of them with just my Warlord shots on my unit of 10 warriors. I wasn't too concerned about the other unit of warriors because they had 2 fatigues on anyway. And then I put all 3 of my uncommons on activation reactions. I thought, if he goes to move at me, I can evade away. If he goes to move again, I could guerrilla, and then he'll fail a charge.
Yeah.
I could evade him, then he could fail a charge, and then he can't activate them again if he fails charge because they're Sons of Death. So he either moves towards me first and takes the shots from guerrilla, or he moves towards, or he tries to charge me, and then I evade, and he can't activate them again.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So I thought, right, I'm okay. So he hit them. He ran his Sons of Death away, and then basically placed all 3 of his dice. Luckily, I got lucky again. He didn't roll a rare for no respite.
Yeah.
So he only had the 3 defense dice. So I managed to just shoot at him. Got to about turn 3. I worked out I was about 5 points up. I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to run off. Because I was terrified of making a mistake because the Scots hit so hard. Mark's such a good player. One error, and it would be basically he'd fight the game back and he beat me. So I moved all my units towards the edge of the board. Yeah. All of them. Now, I thought, right, I got 7 points ahead by this point. I managed to chip a couple more off. I was evading. He couldn't manage to get me. He had a quick go reach at me, but he couldn't get me. And I thought, I've got it. It came to the last turn, and Mark went, do you think you got enough points to beat me, Chris? And I went, yeah. And he went, with your Warlord dead? I forgot I had to leave my Warlord in the centre of the table. I was standing there with my heads in my hands. I'll never hear the end of it. So basically, it was a 2-point lead draw for me. So it was a draw. And because my Warlord was counted as dead, Mark scored 4 points.
Oh, dear.
So I thought, to be honest now, with 2 wins, a loss and a draw, definitely I've not got a chance of winning this tournament now.
Yeah.
So I think going to the next game, I would have had 15 points out of a total of, 24? No? Yeah, 24.
Yeah. So the way the points were working out, it was I think I was still slightly head overall, but there was a very big
large
pack of
on your heels
chasing after me. The peloton, as Andy called it, they're all after me. Yeah, and a lot of really good players in that grouping, and I was up against one of them next. So Richard Malpass also had Scots, a similar list to Mark Birch, and he's also a veteran player, Richard, and we know that he's very good, very capable with it, that Scots board, and I was against him in the claiming territory scenario, and this is another scenario which is really rubbish for player 1. It's terrible for player 1. Player 1 can only deploy within M of the table edge, whereas player 2 deploys within L. Player 1 only gets the 3 dice at the start.
Yes.
And player 2 gets the dice, and they're already on the objective. So player 1 just has to use their dice just to get on the objectives at the start. So usually, so yeah, I was a bit annoyed to go first at this scenario, and I thought this is going to be really tough. But I thought I'd managed to win that scenario as player 1 in some of our practice games. I thought it's possible. I just need to think this through very carefully. Of course, claiming territory does not matter how many of your troops die. It's all about those points from the objectives.
I think placing terrain on this scenario is very important as well. You can make or break your scenario with where you've put your swamps, where you've put your trees, just by making it harder for your opponent to get to your objective, or easier for you to get through.
Yeah. So because you're placing the terrain, and you're also placing the objectives on your opponent's side. Now, my key thing from this is that to contest an objective, you can be within short, but to claim the objective, your unit's got to be within very short. Yes. So, what I realised I can do is if I place the big crop field on my opponent's side, and then my 2 objectives, one goes on one side of that crop field and one goes on the other side, and they're just the objectives just within short of the crop field. Now that means I can put a unit inside that crop field and contest that objective, but my opponent cannot put a unit inside the crop field and claim the objective. They've got to be a model out closer to it. So,
Crafty.
that a crop field though, you'd have to have a unit that could defend their place inside that crop field, and it's not much cover, unless you had an ability to turn that crop field into hard cover. That is. So, I managed to use scouts to move up my units fast up into the crop field, defending my own objectives. I had my Roman deserters who can't claim an objective, but they can contest, so they were defending my own home objectives. Throwing some shots into Richard's advance. He had the Golgahal, the Sons of Death again, but they were at the back line waiting to come in later. He'd swapped out half his levy unit for more warriors, so he only had 6 levy at the back of the board just for a point, and then these big warrior units like 10s of warriors, and then 4 half guard. So most of them were coming up on flank, and he put both of his objectives on my side together, near to each other, thinking he can just steamroller down that flank and defeat everything I've got there, which is often what Scots can do.
Yes.
But I had my Roman deserters there, and he found it quite tough to get through them. He was getting the legendary Scots combination attack in there. And when he came at my Roman deserters, I knew this was going to be really tough. He's going to come at them loaded up with the extra defense dice and loads of extra attack dice. 10 warriors coming at them. So the long spears, the counter attack, the hold at bay, the kind of the combination of dice.
It works out about 20 attack dice and 10 defense dice, doesn't it?
20 attack dice and about 8 defense dice. He went into my Roman deserters. I think he'd used stand together as well, so I couldn't close ranks. On them. However, I could see that coming. I'd put a bit of extra dice in the combat bonus, so my Roman deserters save on 4 pluses anyway. If they close ranks, they save on 3s, and I'd put extra dice in the combat bonus. So he hit me with so many, but he did a double move, so I raised my armor. And I managed to defend it. I managed to defend the whole lot. I didn't lose impressive. A single one. And I was so excited. And then Richard said, you do know that because you count as the attacker, you have to back off. So I backed up anyway. So I thought I'd defended my objective, but I'd actually moved off. Anyway, so he'd got onto one of my objectives. But luckily I'd got my units into the terrain. So I was contesting his objectives. So we were both scoring bits of points there. So I came at this unit that was near to me, and throwing lots of shots at them from my cavalry, from my levy crossbows, who were also in the big unit of cover, and from the Roman deserters themselves. So I was chipping away at this unit, so they weren't scoring as many, chipping away at its Hearthguard as well. But Richard could see that he needed to force me out of the hard cover, and of course Scots can do that. They've got the stand together so that I'm not going to get any benefit of being in the hard cover. So he was using that, and then the combination. But I could see that coming. Obviously, he knew that's what he was going to do. So I laid on my defensive combination, which is the Sacred Tattoos and Feint, which means that I've got +1 to my defense dice, and I've got 4 extra defense dice.
Very hard
so
to break down.
I'm saving on 4s, even without closing ranks. I'm saving on 4s with 4 extra defense dice. So that is a good combination. That is, and although I wasn't doing any damage to him because he had so many defense dice, I managed to defend it, managed to hold off that attack, and stayed in that place. And I managed to do that, and. So neither of us were scoring very high, and I just spotted an opportunity in one turn. He had a big unit of warriors defending one of the objectives on its own, and they'd got a fatigue because they tried to force me off because I was contesting the objective. So I saw the opportunity was, if I can exhaust that unit, they are not going to be able to contest, and I can claim all of the points on that objective. So I had my 10-man warrior unit in there, charged in with defensive abilities, put another fatigue on his unit, and then moved out. So I was actually next to the objective. And then my 4-man warrior unit was at the back of the board, just for the points. Couldn't really do anything. Of course, with scouts, you can move them long out of terrain, and then swift as the wind, they could charge in, and they charge this 10-man Scots warrior unit with 4 guys. I think they had feint to get +1 save because I couldn't lose the whole lot because then I'd exhaust my unit. So they managed to charge in. They didn't all die, and they exhausted his warrior unit. So my big warrior unit of 10, they were still full, they hadn't lost any, managed to score the full points for his home objective because it was on his side, so it wasn't half. So I'd managed to get a really big chunk just by seeing through the moves. It was some of the best play I've ever done. Really, I just sized that. I realised what he could do, and I pictured what I could do, and got across and scored the points, and really struggled to get the points back there, and I took the win. Yeah. So it was a brilliant game, and he played really well. But I just managed to edge it with this little trick from the Picts, the fast moving. I've managed to get the points and took the win. Yeah. What about you, claiming territory?
So I played against George, who was playing Crusaders. He come all the way from Greece. He was a lovely chap. We started the scenario. He deployed. He had the shooty Crusader list. So you've got the pilgrims, and you've got the bows, and you've got the crossbows. So basically, I played against this list before Chris Churchill used to play it.
Yeah.
And he just shoots and shoots and shoots and shoots, and you just get shot out very easily. Luck for me, he hadn't played the scenario before, so he wasn't that familiar with what he had to do. So he was shooting me to death, but I was scoring much more points. And then he had to move his knights away from his right flank, my left flank, because my warriors were in the trees just throwing javelins at him. So they left, and then I just scored an objective on his side of the field. I had my 2 back ones. I was managing just about score. He was shooting me to death, but then he realised how many points he was down, and he started to attack me and charge me. But I just concentrated on going after them big warrior units, so he couldn't score many. And then towards the end of the game, I managed to turn the casualties around as well. He was losing more than I was, and I managed to nick his warlord, so I managed to get a 6-point win.
Right, well done. It's unusual claiming territory scenario. Not everyone likes it because of the focus on points rather than the killing. I quite like the difference of it. It's different to other scenarios, but it's odd, isn't it? It's different very different to the other games.
I really do like claiming territory because you've got different mechanics in it. So your units being fatigued, exhausted, so they can't score, and it's all about protecting your big warrior units to keep maximising scoring. You can play it 2 ways. You can try to take your opponent's one, or you can defend your own while just trying to nick opponents, stop your opponent scoring on certain objectives, and play quite cagey. But either way, it is about targeting their big warrior units, I think.
Yeah, I like it, but it really rewards a careful studying of the conquest points and the rules of the scenario and how you can really just edge those points, because if you get ahead on points on that, it's very hard for opponents to catch up.
Sons of Death for this scenario are fantastic because you just literally throw your Sons of Death at them, kill their big warrior unit that's defending their conquest points, and then they have to readapt their entire plan. Yeah.
I have to say, Richard obviously did have Sons of Death in the game against me, and he made a one mistake in that, which was to rest his warrior unit before activating the Sons of Death.
So he couldn't activate
them, and I thought if it was a friendly game, I'd let him swap round, but because I was the first player, and I've always felt like I've already got a tough battle to come, so I didn't let him get away with it. So sorry, Richard, but he was an absolute gentleman, of course, and accepted that. And then, of course, next turn the Sons of Death came at me. They battered my warriors, but I managed to defend it because I had the hard cover, and I managed to hold them off. But I think if they'd have had another turn of fighting me, I might have been a different story.
Did you have a bit of the unique combination as Picts do, where they're good at defence, good at moving, and good at attack?
Yes. Yeah,
I think that can pull you out of situations sometimes.
Yeah, I always think that what said about the scouts, that get out of jail free card. If you make a mistake, you can move a unit so quickly to get out of the way, or move it back into position. If you've positioned them wrong at the start, you can shift them around. Scouts was every turn of every game pretty much for me. Okay, so there we are. The first 5 games. The final game is left to play, And
So at this point, you'd only lost one practice game,
yeah,
and you'd won about 8 games in the last. You won about 9 games in the last 10, hadn't you?
yeah.
You'd lost one practice game.
I'd only ever lost one game.
You only ever
with
lost
Picts.
one game. He'd won all his games in the tournament except one he drew, and I thought you were going to win it before you went. To be fair,
I didn't I'm that confident, but I did know Picts were really good against almost any opponent. There were a couple who I really feared facing, but I thought they were really good against almost any opponent. So and they were my list I felt was able to deal with every scenario very well. So yeah, had that on the side, but there's a lot of good players and there's a lot of good lists, and it was tight. So going into the final game, I was top for points. However,
8 players could win
there were
because of
8
the scoring.
players, because in that final game, even a draw is scored a loss. Just to make sure players actually take part and don't just hang back for the victory, which I think is a good rule, really. I mean, it was worked against me that time, so it's hard for me to say that. But yeah,
Clash of Warlords can be a dull affair if
it can,
players don't participate, and if both players try to play defensively, it can be really dull, and it can kill both players' tournaments. I think it is better if it's scored this way.
Yeah. Going into that final game, so I'm ahead. If everyone were to draw that final game, I'm going to win. Yep. However, that's very risky, of course. I know everyone else is playing for it, so really, I've got to try and get the win. I've got to see what happens in it. And we're playing a different rule here. To bid your dice for the first turn, so you can choose, so you can work out who goes first by who's willing to play with the fewer dice on the first turn, rather than just getting the 3, which is rubbish. You can bid for it. So opponents in that final game, I'm playing Mark Birch, the previous winner of the UK Grand Melee, with his Scots, the same Scots you'd faced earlier on.
Yes.
Which were so Scots again, very tough opponent, very tough warband. I knew this was going to be hard, and Mark's he's good at winding up his opponents as well. So he's saying to me, "I've already won. Now I don't have to do anything. You don't have to come to me and all this." So it's a bit of mind games to play. So we bid for the first turn. We both don't really want to go first, so we both bid 6, and it was a roll off. And he ends up playing the first turn with 6 dice. I might have been a mistake. I might have been better off trying to go first myself with 5 dice, and because I could get some cheeky shots off early and still run away. And as obviously I deployed my whole warband. He still had some left to place, and there was a steep hill right in the middle. I'd managed to get there because I thought I don't want him having cover. I was really playing a shooting list for this one. I really wanted to shoot him out, so I'd gone with a 6 Hearthguard mounted with javelins in this, and the Warlord on a chariot for the first time in the whole tournament. First time I'd ever used him, in fact. Wow. The Warlord on the chariot. So,
good. In your final game of the Grand tournament, that's the best time to try out a new thing.
Yeah, that's right. I thought I need some shots to shoot him, and I thought he's all on foot. I thought I'm going to be able to run away from him. I'm going to be able to run away with it and get the shots on and get the points that way. So that was my thinking on it. And my 12 crossbow levy positioned behind the steep hill. I thought he's not going to reach them on the first turn. And I didn't measure it properly. Walking across that steep hill, I thought I can't have the Gorgahal, the Sons of Death, meet me on the first turn. So I thought they can't reach me across that steep hill. He went round the hill, and his Sons of Death hit my levy on the first turn.
Oof.
Oh, and it was painful. They batter my levy. I have to say that I managed to raise my armour with one of his fatigues, leave the other one on so I can cancel his move so he can't do it again. Lots of hits on me. I managed to get lucky on the saves, and he killed 6 of my levy. I had 6 left, so still the Saga.
Sorry, dice.
But then the Sons of Death have cancelled their move with the fatigue, so they're sat on my side, no fatigue, and he advances the rest of his force. He's got some levy and hard cover. He's got big warrior units. He's put one of his other warrior units down one flank because I'd put 4-man warrior unit in the back corner. So he's going to march down and take them. So attack my 4-man unit. He'd spotted a weakness there. So yeah, I really made a lot of mistakes in this game with my deployment. But there it is. It's my turn one. His Sons of Death are on my side. I've got to kill them. So throwing shot after shot after shot. Really don't want to go into combat with them, but I don't manage to kill them with all the shots, even my 6 Hearthguard shooting and my Warlord shooting. So yeah, send a unit of warriors in and manage to kill the rest of them. So Mark's turn, he's moving up and he's taking shots, and I think he got quite lucky with his shooting on my my Roman deserters and killed quite a few of them, because they should not really be dying to shooting. They're saving on 3s, even if they're not in cover, really. So they should be with armor 4. They shouldn't be so easy to kill. But yeah, he was killing quite a few of them, whittling them away, and then advancing his warrior unit down to attack my 4-man warrior unit in the corner. So yeah, I was responding to him a lot, and rather than trying to take the fight to him, I felt I was responding to his actions a lot there. His warrior unit eventually came down the side flank, attacked my 4-man unit in the corner. He'd killed 3 of them. 1 guy was left, and then this unit in the corner. So I thought, right, at least I can take out them. So I throw into this warrior unit in the corner my Hearthguard to shoot at them, shooting a couple of shooting at them. My Warlord shooting at them as well. Threw loads of shooting dice in, whittled them down a bit, and I thought I've got to go for the charge in there. So yeah, I charged in, I think, with my Hearthguard unit, and he obviously closed ranks. I had extra attack dice, but he managed to save loads of them. I think he saved every single one with that. I got loads of hits. He saved every single one.
I remember players playing through my game when I was quite eager to find out what was going on. Your game was like, "How are you getting on, Joe?" It's like, "I'm getting battered."
Yeah, so it was grim. And because of course I knew I had to kill this unit, because they were right on my side now, and I didn't. The Scots counterattacking my turn was actually gonna batter me, and so yeah, that was almost like the decisive thing there, because I didn't kill enough of this unit. I didn't kill any of them. He saved every single one of these saves. And his turn, he loads up the usual Scots combo, comes at my Hearthguard, of course, and wipes them out, apart from a single one. So he's killed 5 Hearthguard. And I'm thinking, I can't come back from this. But his other unit's advancing on me. I managed to turn it round a bit, getting the shots on, getting some cheeky charge on his levy. I managed to get through. I think he was playing quite aggressive. He didn't really need to. He was playing quite aggressive, so he wants to
not draw.
He wants to not draw. Yeah,
he's playing for the win.
And he had it on my side, and so yeah, I managed to get some points back, and I was getting a little bit back on my side, a little bit. I think he was still ahead, but I was just edging it with the shots. I think because he was sending loads of charges again after my warriors, my Roman deserters, trying to kill them, and they managed to save in combat again. They didn't lose them. They were down to a single guy left. He managed to save. Yeah. So comes on the final turn, and that's what I'd gamble on having that final turn. His Warlord had a fatigue on my side from a melee, and he had some Hearthguard on my side, so I managed to shoot out his Hearthguard and kill them. His Warlord was there with a fatigue on. So my final turn, I throw everything, the shots into his Warlord, as many as I can. The shots. So that's to be honest, is my Warlord on his chariot shooting, I think 3-4 times at him, dice after dice after dice, and managed to get him exhausted, but I couldn't kill his Warlord. He managed to save.
It feels like such a large expenditure sometimes when you go for a Warlord and you just don't get him.
I know he's saving on 4s and he's have some extra dice, but I threw so many attack dice into it, and he saved them all. And so finished at the end. I'd thrown everything into that shooting, not wanting to lose my own Warlord, of course, because that could have swung the game his way, and so I didn't want to charge in with my very weak Warlord on the chariot. Is not great, obviously, in combat.
Bit flimsy, them chariots.
Yes, yeah. He's only 5 attack dice, armor 4. So I gambled everything in the shots, and it failed. So I what was I? 1 point ahead, something like that. Or maybe he was the one appointed. Anyway, it was a draw.
I think you had 2 points. It was 16-18, wasn't it?
It might be something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was not. It was classed as a draw, so rather frustrating.
Yeah.
That was it. Meanwhile,
so,
your final game opponent, you had someone quite easy to play in your final game, didn't you?
yeah, I had the previous Grand Mally champion Andy Lyons, who was also playing Welsh. If you want brain ache on a Sunday afternoon. So he was playing all mounted Welsh, and I couldn't really compete with that match because I only brought one unit mounted with me. He did have some infantry he could have deployed, but he decided to deploy all mounted. Now, deployment wise with the terrain, he actually outplaced me because I had no terrain on my side. There was a big hill in the middle, and there was some terrain on the edge on his side, so I couldn't get to the terrain. So I was like, oh, I've messed up here. And we both bid 6 points, but he got the first turn. And I thought, he put everything on one shot, and he ran forward, went to this one shot. He killed 2 men and then went backwards. I thought, right, okay, lost a point. That's not too bad. So I was trying to figure out how to pin him because he was right at the back of the board without overstretching myself, while trying to sort of use my levy in the middle with their gorilla to make him stop him throwing javelins at me. Because with gorilla being 6 inches, but only one levy has to be in, and then the whole levy you can shoot them.
Yeah.
So also because I was javeling him on 3s while he was javeling me on 4s.
Yeah.
That's my advantage.
Shooting armor, yeah.
But I've got to figure out how to catch him. Luckily, I've got this lovely ability on my board called Taunt.
Yes.
So on my right flank, I've got unit warriors, unit 7, 2 unit 7 warriors, unit 10 warriors, my warlord, and then I've got my levy, and I've got my vagrant warriors on the left. Pretty much trying to hold their own flank themselves, but trying to stay close enough that they're covered by the activation reactions of the other Welsh. So my Welsh turn, basically it was just a move upwards. I didn't attack anything. I was just trying to space my men out while trying to keep them together at the same time, trying to pin cavalry down. I think I taunted his cavalry into my vagrant warriors and killed 2. I think they killed 2 as well. It didn't go very well. But then they backed off. So nothing really happened. Basically, we were within like 1 point after the first turn. Andy's second turn, he rolls brilliantly. He's got, on his board, he's got 8 dice. He's got 2 dragons. He's got 3 or 4 uncommons. He's just rolled a mint. And I thought, oh, he's just going to activate everything twice with 1 land, 1 king, the horseman. Now, this is, I think it's a massive mistake that Andy made because he planned to do 1 mighty attack. He put wild charging, but loads of dice combat bonus.
Yeah.
And thought in his head he was going to attack the vagrant warriors, and then he changed his mind halfway through the decision making, and then went for the warriors, and I just evaded his attack. So his whole turn 2, he did nothing.
Oh dear, a rare mistake.
A rare mistake
from Andy, but a big one.
But it was a big one. And so his turn 2, with all his board loaded up, he had done nothing. So my turn 2, I taunted some more cavalry into the vagrant warriors. This is a bit of a theme of the game, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I was chipping them down. Also taunting him, he's putting fatigue on them so he can't get away with his abilities.
Yeah.
So I managed to shoot. I'm still playing very tightly because I can't get his units to the back of the board. I can't get to the terrain, so I'm sort of reacting to him rather than actually trying to play. He says the only thing that's making him do anything is taunt. It comes to his third turn, and he was trying to attack me when I was reacting, but I was charging targets he wasn't expecting to charge, the Our Land. He was expecting to react with a gorilla or try to move out of the way, but actually I was using Our Land to charge different targets that were weaker. So I was just playing dice against dice, so it was like 10 warriors, my 10 warriors be charging one of his units, 5 warriors, because he had loads of little units and things like that. And he ended up losing more models in my turn than I was.
Oh, that's painful.
Yeah, it's very painful. So he's attacking me, and he was trying to move his cavalry out of range as well because he doesn't want him javelined. Yeah. So he's spending dice and he's attacking me, and I'm killing more of him than he is me. And he ends up going all out at the end, just attacking me with everything because he realised he was points down, and he might as well go for it. And then as he just attacked me with everything, I basically wiped all his Saga dice out. So it was a strange game playing Welsh versus Welsh, and that big turn 2 mistake I think was vital. And I think I'm going to be honest, I played a blinder with that game. My reactions, I played them all perfectly. I was charging things. I was playing round his reactions, like he couldn't use Outland or Gorilla, because I was activating to shoot rather than moving and things like that. So I was leaving dice on his board all the time, not activating my last unit of warriors so he couldn't react. So I played quite well. I was a bit luckier than Andy as well. I rolled more saves and things like that. But I think that turn 2 was the biggest. And I was looking across the board and they were still playing. And I scored 6 points. I thought, oh, and then Joe's getting battered. I thought, oh, Mark's got more points than me. And then I find out Joe's fighting back. And then they score a draw, and I'm running down with my arms in the air.
Celebrate the draw.
So,
wow.
Yeah, so I managed to win the tournament with 4 wins, a loss and a draw, which is quite a weak win to be fair, but he says it was very tight at the top.
It was very tight. So I was second with 4 wins, 1 draw, and then another
2
draw
draws.
that counted as a loss. That last one.
Otherwise we would have been on the same points too.
Yeah, and so I was on the same point as Richard Malpass. So we thought that it was going to come down to strength of schedule, and he was actually slightly ahead of me. So we thought he was second, but then realised that on the head-to-head game, because I'd won that one, I was actually second, so he was third. So I just managed to sneak the second place, luckily for me. And but yeah, he obviously played a good tournament, came third, and the 3 of us sitting on, we'd managed to keep Andy and Mark off the top 3 spots.
Somehow
we were through to a game, so yeah, real tough. And Jed had a good tournament as well with Carthage, so word out for him. Yeah, he's done well, a fantastic event. And I think obviously I was really pleased. I did want the top spot. I was really pleased with it because we didn't play each other.
That is actually quite important, because
quite often we do.
Yeah, we do play each other quite a lot in tournaments as well, and there's nothing worse than playing the person you went with, and because one of you ending the other one's tournament run. So it can be
awkward in the car on the way back. That would be, wouldn't it? Yeah.
And then so I won my trophy. I was quite happy. I've never had a nice big trophy. I let Joe carry the trophy to the car for me because I had too much prizes to carry.
I was allowed to touch it. Yeah.
But it was a fantastic tournament. So I'd like to thank Andy and Tracy for doing the results, and then Mark for arranging it and running it.
Yeah, it was great. It was really good fun. It was, and the Welsh, although we always said how good they are, they haven't had that many tournament wins in actual fact, and so it's good to see that even amongst all these warbands around now, they can still be strong.
Yeah.
Picts as well, I think could have won. Yeah, it was they're also very good. So yeah, on another day I might have been lucky, but I'm very pleased with the Picts.
They are very, very
great
strong,
stuff you could do. But I think you had a really good list with your Welsh and your Vagrant Warriors and your Taunt is genius. And so when you use that, using it against Andy and you taunting his warriors, they're coming in with javelins. So do you close ranks on that attack?
Yeah, I close ranks and then I get extra defense dice. And it pins him in place because then he can't react to taunt.
Yeah.
So I can pin him in place, and then he's got 1 or 2 fatigues on him, and I can slow him down when he tries to back away, so I can throw javelins at him or pin him in place. So, it was a valid part. I also later on, after my 3 taunts with the Vagrant Warriors, I taunted him into. I managed to get one of my some warriors in rocky ground, taunted his cavalry in there as well.
That's brilliant. Yeah, yeah. Well, interesting that. I can imagine a real head scratcher, Welsh v Welsh.
Yeah.
All those activation reactions. Whose turn is it again? And we've seen. So the 3 warbands at the top were Welsh, Picts, Scots, and these kind of Celtic warbands. We've always thought were strong in Saga, and there they are taking the top three spots. So fantastic. I wonder what will happen next year now. It's going to be Age of Alexander boards will be in there as well. Whole other range of factions, we think.
Yeah, you get to use something good for Miaporis rather than use the Macedonian board.
Yes. Yes, so it will be very interesting. The year ahead, 2023 in Saga. New warbands and of course an update to rules. The FAQ rolled into a new book as well. So that'll be interesting to see a couple of changes we think coming to balance out some of the warbands. So we look forward to another year of Saga ahead, and maybe maybe I'll be able to take that trophy home next time. Now I'm the only one of the Northern Tempest crew who hasn't won the Grand Melee, as it was happily pointed out to me.
I got lucky, to be fair. You were unlucky. You played very well.
I think you earned that trophy, Chris. You played very well with the Welsh. So well done. Congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
Right, well, we'll stop there for now. And who knows when we'll do the next episode. But, well, maybe we'll get around to it sometime. But for now, goodbye from Northern Tempest.
Goodbye.